Welcome, Facebook.
Okay. All right, so to anyone who might be joining us, I'll give you a little peek behind the curtain, but Glass Half Sports will be starting very soon. Let's see, where are we at? Is this? Oh, a little peek behind the curtain. Oh, we'll be starting soon. In fact, let's leave that open. What the hell?
Why not? Why not?
God, we're missing someone.
We are. He's missing in action today.
We still, he is in ICU with chlamydia. No! Our fearless leader is has H1N1 pig flu.
Yep.
Is that what it was?
West Nile?
West Nile. Some sort of bird flu.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
He raises chickens.
He does.
Getting way too close with those animals. But we're going to have a great show today, despite it. Will we not, Mike?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Big
right,
show for you guys today.
And I think even saying big show is underplaying it a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, it's just being cut, but I like it. It's humble.
The eternal optimist
Humble
back
approach. There. Well, I don't do this shit to not be the best all time.
Right.
Every day, all the time.
You know, one of the toughest things about replacing Nick is making sure the studio looks roughly the same.
Goddamn right it is. That is hard.
That's Nick in bed right now, wishing he was here.
Oh yeah, he's not happy. Not a happy camper right now. But it's going to be a good show. There we go. Well, hey man, we are ready to go. I think, I should probably use my goldfish effect. That's one of my favorite.
Oh, that's
things.
a nice one. That's a nice one.
Yep.
Swimming straight vertical. Nice.
Yeah, but if anyone wants to comment below, we love to get your responses or whatever you want to talk about something.
Yes, please. We have live commenting. So yeah, let us know, and we'll get going here, Gabe.
Okay. Oh shoot, sorry. One more second, just because I have to connect to YouTube.
Yep.
And then we'll be good, so that everyone can comment. You can comment on Facebook or on YouTube, and we'll put it on screen and let's interact.
For sure. For sure.
All right. Let's get this going. Come on. You stupid thing.
I love how the goldfish has like clear eyes though, so you can see the background.
Yeah.
Through the eye of the goldfish.
Quite proud of him.
Sounds like a prophecy.
But yeah, dude, let's I want that. Okay, ready? Whoop.
Oh.
You gotta back it up. You gotta do this right. Ladies and gentlemen, Glass Half Sports.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Glass Half Sports, and welcome to September. Sports are definitely starting to heat up. Baseball, we're getting closer to the postseason, and NFL football is, a week away, 10 days away. So we have a lot of sports to talk about with you guys today. This is Glass Half Sports with Mike and Nick. No Nick today, and I am back from my, 3-week sabbatical. It seems like we are allergic to each other. So today, I'm going to be joined by our great producer, Gabe Noah, in the back.
Yes.
We might have some picture-in-picture stuff for you, and we'll get through it. Today's going to be a little bit of a fun show, a little bit more relaxed show. Nick is definitely our fearless leader. So without him, we were struggling a little bit today, but we're here, and we're going to deliver the sports to you guys. So as always, make sure you share on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, YouTube. You can check us out on Patreon as well. And then post-show, as always, we can be found on MCN6, which is cable. You can access that through your Roku as well on the app. So with that, Gabe, let's get into it. We're going to go baseball roundup first. Then we're going to talk Minnesota Vikings. They did a lot of roster moves getting ready for the Packers here in about 10 days. There are a lot of surprising NFL names not on teams currently, so we're going to touch on those. We have to do a preseason roundup. There was a lot of stories that happened in like week 3 of the preseason or even practice this past week that we should touch on. We have an obligation to our fearless leader who is not here today to talk about UFC as well. I'm going to struggle through that. If you guys have watched the show in the past, I'm definitely not super well versed in my UFC knowledge, but with Gabe in the back, we're going to push through it for Nick. And then I want to talk a little college football as well. College football starts this weekend, and there's a few sweet matchups. So let's kick it off with a Minnesota Twins check-in. I did think it was funny, as Nick always does. He did the run sheet for the show today, but he always does it like Friday or Saturday going into the week. And at that time, he had for the Minnesota Twins, let the plummet begin. Basically, since that day, we went on a 5-game win streak, which just ended last night. And with that, I believe we are 1.5 games back of the Cleveland Guardians. Gabe, there's about 30 games left, 1.5 games back. How are you feeling about the Twins right now? And then I'll kind of go into my spiel.
We're going to win it all, man. I guarantee it. No,
right.
Of course.
The eternal optimist in Gabe Noah.
Yeah, hell no, man. They've already shown that they don't even want to win that much.
You know, that's what I saw too last night. Very frustrating. Had runners in scoring or runners on first and second, no outs, down by a run. Baseball has told you for 100 years, you bunt, you move them over to second and third. Now they're in scoring position. Instead, Rocco lets Luis Ariz swing away. And then we ground out into a double play after him and lose the game. So
when you mentioned this earlier, I didn't realize Luis Ariz was at the plate.
Yeah, great with the stick, too. Can definitely lay down a great bunt to move those guys over.
Well, now I'm saying I'm not as hypercritical of his call. I don't know what Ariz, like what his earlier at-bats were like.
Sure.
I don't know what kind of, but if there's anything that I'm just absolutely want to vomit about is this new sabermetrics revolution where you don't bunt, you don't manufacture runs, you don't steal bases. I used to pitch. You did too, right? Yep. I was a little better, of course.
Nick actually pitched at a higher level than me. So
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, man, you know what it feels like when the game is tight and a runner you know he's going to steal. Everyone know he's like, I was pretty mentally strong with that stuff. It is in your fucking head.
Oh,
There's no doubt about it.
Definitely.
Let alone you might force throwovers, pickoffs when someone bunts. It puts pressure on a defense. I can't fathom that your math is going to be that much better over the long run. Like, I get over the long run, right? That we want to hit 3-run home runs. But we're in this game right now. And it just, I don't know. It just makes me fucking ill.
You know, I think this is the conversation that we should have about the Minnesota Twins right now, is they are so numbers based when they want to be.
Yeah.
They follow the sabermetrics. They do what they should statistically. And then you look at their roster. How, if you are a statistically based team, do you even have a reliever in your bullpen that has the highest home runs per 9 ratio of all time in Emilio Pagan? Like, if you
Say that stat again. Say that again.
So he has the highest home runs per 9 innings pitched of any reliever ever.
And he's on our team. Terrific. I'm thrilled to hear that.
Right. So it doesn't make sense if you're going to steer into the skid of being a numbers-based baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say I agree with it, but at least be consistent. Because continuing to trot Pagan out onto the mound, it just doesn't make sense. It really just doesn't make sense.
Let me ask you this. Has Byron Buxton had a good year?
I would say he's had a good year, yes.
What do you say that for?
I didn't say that he had a great year.
That's for sure.
And it goes back to the conversation that Nick and I were arguing about when Nick wanted to re-sign him, and I was like, I was indifferent on it because now we're hearing that the knee is bothering him again. He's basically delegated to a DH role if he comes back healthy anyway. Byron Buxton was like the best that never was in center field for the Twins.
He is the closest that this world has to Ricky Henderson.
Potentially.
Right. Yeah.
Potentially.
No, I'm just
and
saying
that's the problem, right? Yeah.
Skill set.
Exactly.
Yep, absolutely.
Exactly. But with a bad knee and not being able to play center field, with not stealing bases because he could get hurt, he's just not who he should be for the Minnesota Twins. And it's frustrating as a Twins fan to see your young prospects like Buxton, like Royce Lewis, like Kyle Garlick, who's finally back and playing well, just consistently get hurt and not be who they thought that it would be. So
very hard not to do the Denny Green drop right there. Very hard.
They are who we thought they were.
They are who we thought they were.
And we let them off the hook.
But Buxton was not who he thought he was.
No, he hasn't been. And I'm going to stand by my argument with Nick in the offseason that because he's not who he should be, I would have been okay with moving on, to be honest. Because you would have gotten something for him because the whole MLB is tricked into thinking that Byron Buxton is this 30 home run, 40 stolen base guy, and he's just not even close to that.
This was the most... Hear ye, hear ye.
Right?
Mike just said something really smart. Sorry, I didn't mean that to be an insult,
you're good.
But it was.
It happens once in a while.
Yeah. But it's just like, yes. Just like I was saying about Mike Trout, right? I'm like, if I was the Angels, I'd trade
Very
Mike
similar
Trout.
argument.
Yeah.
Very similar argument.
They absolutely should have. The Major League Baseball is so in love with a big, your big name, your big stat guy who puts up big numbers, and it's like they just don't. You need 5 of those guys to win a championship.
Right.
It's just not.
Or you get 9 guys that bat 280 and play good fielding and are there in the lineup every day.
Right.
It's funny how all these teams had success with that formula. Like, I think about that as a really 90s MLB thing where guys were just playing every day. Their averages throughout the lineup were 280, 285. Good fielders, but they gelled well together. That confidence piece with runners in scoring position, they were bunting, getting guys over. Like, that's the way baseball should be played.
Mm-hmm.
And we've gone away from it. We've gone towards the stars who need load management, who need this, who need that, who will bat 190 but hit 40 home runs. I don't know. It's sad to me a little bit. I feel like an old man saying what I'm saying.
Hey, no one's going to out old man me on this show here. But right. Were you here the week when I was talking about Billy Ripken's rant about I
was not.
Oh my God, I love Billy Ripken. He said what I had felt to my scrotum. It's something I'm very passionate about. The deep stuff. He was talking about how you see someone hit a home run now, and they'll go 1 for 5 with a home run, and they run around the bases pumping their fists like they had a good game.
Right.
So we talk about averages. Byron Buxton being the greatest example. I despise, and I mean despise, this new thing of that we don't care about average. We don't care, and I'm not even saying it's the be-all, end-all, but it is an indicator. I played a lot of baseball. A guy who's batting 225 is not the dude who you're terrified to face. It's just not.
Well, and that goes back to your argument of you maybe wanting Arias to swing away last night.
Right. So normally, hold on, all I'm saying there, though, is normally I say there's probably 5 guys in the league that I consider not bunting there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's
the
all I'm saying.
Average
Arias
leader
might
in
be
September.
That guy.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, but I didn't see his earlier at bats.
So just to cap off this conversation, then we'll kind of look ahead to the Twins' schedule. Byron Buxton for the season, 224 average, Gabe.
Oh, 224. Dropped
224. 28 home runs, 51 RBIs.
And how much is he getting paid?
Like $10 million, I think.
Well, that's very sad to say that's like a deal.
It's a decent deal.
Fair.
But I don't know.
With his defense, it's fair.
Yeah. With his defense that happens 20 games out of the year.
That's true. Yeah, you can't make up for being in the freaking lineup, right? That's at the end of the day.
Nick says this all the time, and he's kind of won me over on it. The best ability is availability.
Yeah?
It really is. If you can't play, I don't care how good you are.
Let alone with the letdown with the team, the chemistry, what it's like playing in the outfield with different outfielders. Right. You open yourself to injury shit more.
What was it? 3 months ago in June, we felt very good about this team because Correa and Buxton were gelling. They were the leaders of the team. They were both healthy. We were playing well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, That's why baseball's a long season, especially if you live in Minnesota.
So just if, I know we want to move on, but just to play this out real quick. Do you see a move with Buxton after this year? And if so, what would you go for? You don't think anyone wants him?
Well, I don't think the Twins will ever move on from him. And that's why
We're really faithful to our, the people who we decide are our stars.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are oddly faithful.
Honestly, if you want to talk about it, Correa, when they were in Houston, I don't know if you and Nick touched on this.
No, I don't think so.
So when they were in Houston, a Houston newspaper asked Correa if he sees himself coming back to Houston. And he basically said that he plans on being in Minnesota for a while.
Oh, he did?
He did.
I did not hear that.
I call bullshit, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, just trying to play for more money, kind of.
Yeah. I'm a loyal guy.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. It's an odd. I haven't allowed myself to like Correa or to get attached to him because it feels like such a rental.
Yeah, and I'm also not super impressed yet. His glove is really nice.
Yeah,
I'll give him that. But when he steps up to the plate, I don't go, "Oh yeah, here he comes."
Right.
I used to feel that with 40-year-old Jim Thome when he was on the Twins, and I don't feel that with Carlos Correa. So it's interesting.
Yeah, Thome is a top. I want to say top 10 in all-time home runs.
Mm-hmm.
He's not regarded that way though.
No,
not at all.
But dude, that's a guy if I was a major league pitcher, I would never want to see Jim Thome.
Oh yeah,
ever.
Yeah. It was like facing the overdeveloped fat kid in Little League.
Right. Yeah, the kid who looks like he's 16 and has 2 kids at home. It's okay,
yeah, that's
here we go.
The one time when you're 12 is when it's great to be a fat athlete,
right?
Because they can just pound the ball.
Yep.
Well, all right.
So looking ahead at the Twins schedule, White Sox series starts tomorrow. That's a 3-game set going through the weekend. And then we get to go visit the Bronx Bombers through our episode next week. So 7 games. We basically have to sweep the White Sox because we know that the Yankees are our kryptonite, right? So if we sweep the White Sox, maybe win a 1 game out of the 4 against the Yankees, we're sitting at 4-3 over that 7-game set. We're a game and a half back. That's not too bad. And then we get the Guardians right after that. So we'll touch on that next week. But I would say they must win 4 out of 7 going into the next 7.
They must win 4 out of 7. So I think that you're on crazy pills or some sort of narcotic. Have you been in my drawer once more? Because
no.
You just said, hold on, was that a prediction or you're saying they need to do it?
They need to. If they want to stay in the race, because they're a game and a half back right now.
No, that's true.
If they want to stay in the race at all, they must win 4 out of the 7. Now, I do see it as plausible that we do sweep the White Sox. We've been playing good ball. Up until yesterday, we were on a 5-game win streak, right? So it's possible. It's within the realm of possibility that we steal all 3 from Chicago in Chicago. That sets us up great going into New York. Now, we have a 4-game set against the Yankees. They're for sure going to win the series, but can we steal one? If we can steal one there, that sets us 4-3 over that 7-game series going into Cleveland. And maybe, 2 games back at that point. And now we have a 3-game set against Cleveland. We can claim the top of the division again.
So what have you seen from the Twins this year that you're saying we're going to sweep the White Sox?
The White Sox aren't very good.
I know.
In general.
But this is clutch baseball time.
It is. It is. Mm-hmm. And we're awful on the road. But the White Sox also have a losing record at home. They're 3-7 over their last 10. We're 5-1 over our last 6. Garlic is back, which helps a ton. As surprising as that sentence is, right?
Yeah. Garlic is back.
Yeah, I don't know.
So let's even do a protracted look really quick. Let's just look at this month. How do you like us closing out this month? I mean, so then going into KC, where are they at? Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Guardians first.
Well, so the Guardians are a game and a half ahead of us, right?
Uh-huh.
So those are going to be vital games, and we play them, what?
At home.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times this month. So those are important games this month. In September. And then what's nice is our division is awful, right? So we're going to get the White Sox. We're going to get the Royals twice. Angels are bad. This month, other than the Yankees, is pretty easy baseball.
That is pretty favorable, actually.
So is it possible that the Twins are the AL Central champs? Yes. It's definitely in the realm of possibility.
Don't you really put this, to me, this is a real Baldelli test.
Yep.
right? Like, can he motivate this team to stay on top of this and take this fucking home?
Can he manage them through games like logically? We have a better roster than the Guardians roster. Like every pundit would tell you that across the nation. So it's basically in Rocco's hands. Can you take the division lead from Cleveland?
And are there any indicators of where their chemistry is at? Like where like the Twins clubhouse is, how they feel about Rocco. Like, I mean, do you see anything? Because, you watch a lot more games.
Yeah, I would say, everything I've seen, they're pretty supportive other than the pitching staff. The pitching staff really dislikes, especially the starting pitching staff, really dislikes how early they get pulled. Sonny Gray had a comment a week and a half ago. They basically asked him, like, you're through 4 months with your new team. How do you like it in Minnesota? And he was a professional, I'll give him that. Mm-hmm. But his answer was basically, I like to pitch deep in games.
Wow.
And everybody's like, oh, Sonny Gray's pissed that Rocco pulls him early. And
well, he is.
It happens all the time. And Rocco's basis is, well, if you look at the average and the on-base percentage in the third time through the lineup, it skyrockets. Okay, Rocco, that's fine. Then why the hell do you take a reliever in Emilio Pagan that has statistically the highest home runs per 9 average and put him in next?
Right. And why do you, first, also, if you're looking at the long-term prospects of your ball club, right? The long term. Do we not want to teach those players to pitch deep? Do we not want them to persevere? Do we not? You're dooming yourself to having to constantly do this shit.
Well, and like, typically if you're giving up hits and kind of getting out of innings, then that third time through the lineup is going to go a little bit worse. But like Joe Ryan, if he's through 6, allowing 2 hits and has 10 strikeouts, let him go.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, statistically, he's dominating. He is dominating right now. Let him have the hot hand. And that's what's frustrating about the Twins is baseball is a romantic game. There's a ton of feelings and morale and confidence that go into baseball more than any other sport. If a guy has a hot hand, you have to let that hot hand ride. You have to. And Rocco never will. He never will.
Right.
So it's frustrating. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about just baseball in general and some throwing mechanics. Did you want to do that now?
Well, yeah, I wanted to talk about this Shohei thing.
Oh, sure.
That we were talking about. So, yeah, go ahead. You set it up.
For those of you that don't know, Shohei Ohtani just set another record. Surprising. He is the first player in MLB history to have 30 home runs and 10 pitching wins in the same season. It's insane.
It's amazing.
It's absolutely insane.
So, this is the thing that I'm positive, or whatever, that I want to ask.
Sure.
Do you believe we will see this again in the next 50 years?
So I actually strongly disagree with Nick on this subject. I think that this is going to become more prevalent, but without the power at the plate. So I think you're going to see a guy who can field well enough. I think you're going to see a guy who can hit 280 and pitch well enough. Now, is he as dominant as Shohei Ohtani is? Probably not. But do you need him to be? If I could tell you that your fourth pitcher in your rotation can pitch 33 starts for you, go 8-5 with a 3.5 ERA, and then he can also bat 280, knock in 15 homers, and play second base. That guy is valuable as well because the MLB limits you to 25 roster spots. So if you can take a guy that's even a utility infielder and a starting pitcher and a reliever, that is 2 guys in 1 on a roster spot. It's extremely valuable. Do I think that we see it as dominant as Shohei, breaking all these records, hitting huge, long home runs? No.
Has the highest exit velocity in the game
ever.
Has throws 100 miles an hour. I believe he pumps it up there, right?
But
he still does.
Let's look at some of these athletes that we're having come out now too. O'Neal Cruz. Are you familiar with him?
Of course.
So he's 6'7",
slinging it 96
plays
from shortstop,
and throws 97, 98 miles an hour across the diamond from short.
Yeah.
Could he pitch? Take a year and pitch him or teach him how to pitch. I bet he could pitch. And he hits the ball really well. So, I mean, are there athletes out there to do it? Yes.
Yes.
Are guys going to do it? I think it's going to be more prevalent now than it ever has been, just because of the popularity of Ohtani. Think if you're a high school sophomore that can do both. Are you not going to try to do both throughout your career now because you're just that much more valuable?
So, when we started this conversation, I was 100% in it, like agreeing with what you're saying.
Sure.
100%. And then something just popped it. So I have, I like to do a little sports card stuff, right?
Yep.
And I invested in some Shohei cards.
Ooh.
Really nice ones, actually. I'd love
Very
to.
nice.
Yeah, I wish I would have brought them. And because in my mind, one of my other favorite players of all time, favorite athlete of all time, Bo Jackson.
Yep.
And I would compare him to Bo Jackson all the time. And that's what I was telling my cousin who collects. I was like, he's Bo Jackson. He's a freak athlete that we haven't seen. And I absolutely
he's a generational
believe,
talent, for
yes.
sure.
And he's revolutionizing kind of what we thought was possible, which usually opens the door to more people doing it.
Exactly.
And then I just realized, as you're talking, there's no one else playing baseball and football at the same time right now.
But are there guys that could if they wanted to?
Yes, but why are they not?
That's a great question,
Yeah,
honestly.
what's the difference between Shohei and...
So, like, Kyler Murray was drafted, 4th overall or something by the A's?
Oh, that's right.
Russell Wilson was drafted by the MLB. Tom Brady was drafted by the MLB. So, maybe it's... I mean, if we think about it, all three guys that I just listed off are quarterbacks, and the throwing motion for the two are very different. And that may be why they're not doing both.
How many years do you see Shohei, I guess...
Being able to do this?
Doing this. How long do you think the Angels are going to... do you think there's a plan in place to stop him? Or I wonder if their front office...
So,
do
that's
they like
the
it?
question,
Do they
right?
hate it?
So, the Angels are Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani right now. They're awful.
Mm-hmm.
Does Shohei want to stay there? Let's say Shohei somehow gets a trade done and goes to the Yankees.
That would make me puke.
It would. But it's a realistic trade destination.
Yes,
it always is, right? Do the Yankees just want him to DH? And that's what stops him. Or do they want him to just pitch? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that's what stops him, is a new team stopping that. If he's still in Los Angeles, I would say legitimately he could continue this, barring an injury, 4 to 5 years.
I got to look this up, but I haven't even seen a quote of how he feels about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does he love it?
It seems like he's a pretty quiet guy, right? You don't get many quotes from him, period.
Right. And I don't speak Japanese.
And I don't speak Japanese.
Yeah. And how about this? Is he a better hitter or pitcher? If you had to pick one, which one do you pick?
Well, let's look into it.
I actually err on the pitching side. As far as what I rather.
And that's
have a
funny
great
though,
pitcher
because I'm pretty sure when he came in, it was definitely the hitting side.
Huh.
So let's look into this.
Go ahead. You look into that. I'm scanning this thing.
So, pitching wise, he has a 2.67 ERA.
Holy shit.
That's pretty fucking good.
That's good.
He's 11-8. So that shows you that the Angels don't give him any run support. To me.
Mm-hmm. What's his record? Say that again.
11-8. 2.67 ERA.
That's just run support. I think wins for a pitcher is really being diminished. As far as the importance of that.
I'm just going to bring up Felix Hernandez every single time.
Yeah.
Right? Who was freaking dominant.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had 1 year with a 1.8 something ERA, and he only won 13 games.
Huh.
It's terrible. But 176 strikeouts is impressive as hell as well.
He's fucking A.
Yeah. And he has, let's see. Shoot.
Well, I'm gonna look up some stats too on the WAR. I want to see. So he's the reigning AL MVP.
He is.
I want to know him versus Judge, because I know Judge is lighting the world on fire on a first place team.
I think I saw it yesterday, and Judge technically has a higher WAR, but I didn't know if they combined Shohei's, because you should, right? You should combine his pitching and. So let's see.
I'm looking it up too. Yeah.
So his pitching WAR for the year is 4.3. His batting WAR for the year is 3.1. So that's what, 7.4?
7.4. And where's my Judge comparison? Son of a bitch.
So yeah, hitting wise, he's got 30 dongs, 82 RBIs. He's got 11 stolen bases too. Like, it's
He's
insane.
fast.
269 batting average, 888 on base plus slugging. It's pretty good. It's pretty fucking good.
So put it this way. If you were a GM of a club, who would you want, Shohei or Judge?
I'd probably take Shohei.
I'd take Shohei all day.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's controversial.
He helps you both.
It's so hard to have anyone win the MVP with him putting up those numbers. Like, if you're really being honest, I'm sure Judge will get it because of the Yankees in first place and all that, and that's fine,
And the Angels are in, I think, last place in the West, right?
Yeah. And who's their manager now?
I don't know. They fired
Madden.
They fired Madden.
Wow.
I don't even know who it is anymore.
A fucking disaster.
But like, what I see from him too that makes me lean towards the fact that he'll be able to sustain this is if you watch him pitch and you watch him hit, it seems effortless at times.
Oh yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem like he is straining his body every pitch that he throws.
Oh yeah, no, it's a very smooth motion.
Same with his swing.
Effortless looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I did read how fast he was once, and it really kind of.
Well, he's huge. He's like 6'4", 6'5", isn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, just long legs, 6'4", 210, and built. Like, I don't know. I would take Ohtani over Judge every day of the week, to be honest.
Yeah. No, me too.
I would. So, yeah, that's all we got for baseball. If you have any comments about the Minnesota Twins or anything else going on in baseball, make sure to let us know in the comments below, and we'll get to it later. With that, let's kick off to the Vikings season kickoff. Green Bay is 10 days away. Your hosts of Glass Half Sports will be in attendance, bringing you some news about that game as well. Vikings news. So we've made a few roster moves, a few cuts to get down to 53 going into week 1. We've cut Blake Lynch. We've cut Armon Watts and replaced him with Ross Blacklock. And yes, that is maybe somewhat of a downgrade at that position, but we also saved $1.8 million. Looking ahead at Justin Jefferson needing to be resigned. Love it. Love it. Trust in Kwesi. We released Sean Mannion. We released Zach Davidson, which was a little bit surprising. I did like Zach Davidson in the preseason. Good tight end. I think he'll go somewhere. If he doesn't get picked up, good tight end.
Very hard not to laugh at that one. Sorry.
Phrasing, right,
end.
Gabe?
Phrasing matters. It does.
He will get picked up somewhere. If not, awesome for us. He'll be on our practice squad. And then drum roll, please, Gabe.
Oh, yeah.
We cut Kellen Mond because he's bad. He's a bad NFL quarterback. So all of you Mondiacs out there, he's bad at football. Zimmer wasn't wrong. Mond is bad.
Where did he get all this cred?
Well, so he was a quarterback for Texas A&M, SEC team.
Oh, yeah, great quarterback school.
Johnny Manziel, right?
Yes, I guess now, yeah.
And I mean, he put up good numbers for him. I'll give him that.
Yeah,
he was a successful SEC college quarterback. Congratulations, Kellen. That's awesome. I'm being 100% genuine. If you ride off into the sunset right now, you need to be proud of your career. But from playing the position, from coaching the position for almost a decade, mechanically, you will not make it in the NFL.
Ooh, can you break that down? Specifically, what is the issue?
Sure. He's extremely boxy and rigid. He's almost robot-like.
Ooh. Oh, who is the guy who's like the standard for that? God,
well, to be honest, there's a good way to be a robot. Like, if you watch Peyton Manning, every single throw was the exact same. It was like a robot.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the throwing motion, it was so consistent that all he needed to do was read the defense, and he knew where the ball was going to go.
Right.
That's the other problem. I don't think Kellen Mond reads defenses super well. Throw 2 picks in basically 2 quarters of preseason football against second and third strings.
Right.
I'm not going to trust in your decision-making, especially to lead an NFL franchise. So, to be honest, Cleveland picks him up off onto their roster, I think. He might even be on their 53. That doesn't show that I was wrong and saying that he's not an NFL quarterback because he won't play there. He won't play there. If Jacoby Brissett goes down and it's Kellen Mond next, they're going to make a trade of some kind. I can guarantee you. I can guarantee you.
And do you see a candidate for that?
I mean, it could be anybody at that point. There's, look at the trade that the Vikings just did to get Nick Mullins. A 7th-round pick, which, how often do 7th-round picks pan out? It's basically a worthless value for a backup quarterback. So if a team is in a pinch, I mean, you got Jimmy G, who's, we'll talk about later, who just restructured a deal to be the backup quarterback in San Francisco. If they offered a 4th round, they'd probably part with Jimmy G. And all of a sudden you have Jimmy Garoppolo. Do you want Jimmy Garoppolo or Kellen Mond? And if you say Kellen Mond, you can turn us off right now because you know nothing.
Yeah. Former Vikings. So I'm going through some headlines here. Yeah. And I got, so this guy, I don't know, the
Jalen Reagor. Yeah. So he was picked 1 pick ahead of Justin Jefferson in the 2020 draft game.
Oh, okay. So he's got skills at least, or whatever, should have raw skills.
So he's a great athlete. Great athlete. Super fast. And the Vikings cheered in their war room when the Eagles picked him and Justin Jefferson was left on the board.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we've traded for Jalen Reagor for basically one purpose, and he's going to be our punt returner. So another cut that the Vikings made was Emir Smith-Marset from Iowa. He just wasn't a punt returner at Iowa, and the Spielman regime was trying to train him to be a punt returner for them. It just didn't work out.
Okay.
Kwesi basically said, well, I'm going to take a guy who has 2 punt returns in his college career. He has a punt return for a touchdown in the NFL. That's going to be our punt returner.
So these are the other round of headlines, the more recent ones, just a couple hours ago. But Vikings, Kevin O'Connell wants Kirk Cousins to feel as involved as he's ever been in the offense. I'd never heard that in the past. He was not.
It's a super new thing for Kirk, right? He was the game manager. Don't turn the ball over. Mike Zimmer's defense will win the day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, O'Connell is giving him the keys to the kingdom. So it's going to be a super interesting years.
Yeah. What? Yeah, I mean, do you see that? Was that something that was known last year at all? Like, I mean, that he's not getting input in the offense? Did you ever hear that?
Yes.
You did? Okay.
I can't remember the exact timeline, but it came out. Last year was the only year that Kirk and Mike Zimmer ever met together.
Oh, that's right.
They hadn't met together in the years past at all.
I forgot about that.
Like, how do you have a starting quarterback and a head coach and you don't meet together?
That's insane, actually. Right? It's insane.
Especially a defensive head coach and their quarterback who, like, you want them to run your offense a specific way and you don't meet with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
And then this, I think this just echoes what you said already, but they cut most of their 2021 draft class.
Yeah. It's a regime change a little bit, right? These players aren't fitting what we're looking for. Blake Lynch gets cut. He was an undrafted guy that made the team. He even started some games for us last year, but it's because they like Troy Dye more. Like, they're going in a certain direction, and if you don't fit that direction, bye. It just is what it is. What I do want to say about Kirk Cousins, though, is I've made the equivalent many, many times that he's a bowl of ranch. A bowl of ranch by itself, not great.
Mm-hmm.
But you put a Justin Jefferson, an Adam Thielen, a Dalvin Cook, KJ Osborne, Irv Smith, once he's healthy again, and then Alexander Madison around that. That looks like a really good charcuterie board from, like, Buffalo Wild Wings with the ranch in the middle.
Making me hungry.
I'm starving right now for some Vikings football.
When who do we play in preseason coming up?
Preseason's over.
It's over? I thought we had one more week.
No, it was 4 weeks for quite a while, but it's down to 3 now. And then they give the week 4 of preseason as a bye week to everybody.
Okay, yeah. And it's I'm still catching up on the 17 games thing.
Right.
So
next week, September 11th, never forget, we will play the Packers at home at 3:25, week 1, kicking off against a division rival. Nick and I will be there.
You don't even want to know what that is.
I don't want to know what that is.
Excited for the game. That's all I want to say, Coach.
Yeah, it should be a good one. We'll touch on it again next Thursday. Hopefully Nick and I will both be here, no longer allergic to each other.
You better be. I can't do this again.
With that, let's go to cuts around the league. There's been some big names that were cut, and then some big names that are no longer they're not currently on an NFL roster. So will they be going into week 1? So cuts first, Tyler Johnson, Minnesota kid, went to Minneapolis North, played for the Gophers, played for the Buccaneers, was cut to trim down to 53, surprisingly. Alex Leatherwood, offensive tackle for the Raiders, was a first-round pick for them last year, I believe. They tried to trade him to pretty much every single NFL team, and every single NFL team said no, so they cut him. O.J. Howard, tight end, played for the Bucs for a while, had a huge upside, was on the Bills. Bills fans were excited to see Dawson Knox and O.J. Howard kind of together, that 2 tight end thing. He just wasn't what they thought he was, and so he's a free agent. Philip Lindsay. I think Philip Lindsay and O.J. Howard show what the NFL is. The NFL is truly what have you done for me lately. Philip Lindsay was a great running back for Denver. He was an undrafted guy, worked his way up the depth chart, was their number 1, had 1,000 yards in his rookie season as an undrafted running back. I think he was like the first ever to do it. Well, fast forward 4 or 5 years down the road, and he's no longer on our team. Laquan Treadwell was cut. Laquan Treadwell, if you remember,
yes,
was the huge swing and a miss that the Spielman regime took at receiver. And I think he just got cut from his 4th NFL team. I do want to touch on this. Jalen Reagor, everybody thinks that he is just absolutely awful because people compare him to Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is a top 3 receiver in the NFL. If you compare most of the NFL receivers to him, they're going to be bad. But Jalen Reagor, who's been in the league 1 or 2 years, already has more catches than Laquan Treadwell does in his entire career. I think he can help us out at receiver, but again, he was brought in as a punt returner. Notable NFL free agents. These are big names that are currently not on NFL rosters that I think will be on NFL rosters by week 6 at the very latest. Odell Beckham Jr. is just sitting out there.
Really?
Shocking, right?
Mm-hmm.
How have the Green Bay Packers, who don't have any receivers, called him? It's interesting to me.
Wow. Is he a freaking cancer or what?
Oh.
Is there I know he's
it's
always
OBJ,
been brash
right?
and all that,
yeah.
right? But I mean, is there something going on behind the scenes that's even worse than what we're seeing in the media?
It's very possible, but I mean, still, his skill still outweighs the cancer that he brings. And I get that to a certain point. If that cancer outweighs the skill, you stay far away. But I don't believe that every NFL team doesn't want Odell Beckham Jr. right now. Maybe the numbers aren't right.
Yeah.
Trey Flowers was a dominant defensive end in a 3-4 technique for the Patriots, and then was pretty dang good for the Lions. Gave the Vikings quite a few fits. He's a free agent. Will Fuller, receiver for the Texans and the Dolphins, I believe, just absolutely a speed burner. Again, a really good receiver that could help a lot of teams around the NFL. Free agent. Landon Collins, a great safety, hard-hitting safety, comes down in the box and makes plays. Had a huge upside coming out of college. I think he's in his 6th or 7th year. Free agent. And the last one I'll end on, Ndamukong Suh is a free agent. Yes, he's not as dominant as he was in his time in Detroit, but he not only helps you on the defensive line in a rotation setting, but he helps your locker room. That's a captain type guy that you can kind of get behind. Even with his dirty play, he plays with a chip on his shoulder, which a lot of teams need. So those are 5 guys around the NFL that I do foresee being on NFL teams by week 6 at the latest.
How about this news? I got a news item here.
That is
Aaron
my
Donald.
next
Is it?
topic. Yes, sir.
Oh, we're on the same page.
So let's go into that. There's a few stories coming out of preseason that we need to touch on. First and foremost, Aaron Donald should be suspended. He
Yes.
should definitely be suspended. How does Myles Garrett swing a helmet at Mason Rudolph? And I think he was suspended the rest of the season. Aaron Donald swings 2 helmets at various guys, and nothing happens. It totally gets swept under the rug.
I think it's so alarming. I mean, not just that he, to me, this is not something you can write off as hey, he's just passionate. He's in there,
Right.
To
his
me, it's
excuse was it was just a practice.
Right. To me, it's no, you are ripped on steroids or whatever. You have emotional issues going on, and Maybe he's always that way, but
I mean, how do you watch the video though and say that he is not a threat to the people that are on the field with him?
Right.
He's clearly a threat. And I think it just goes to show the NFL picks and chooses their penalties depending on the popularity of the player and the popularity of the team. Myles Garrett was a Cleveland Brown. The Browns weren't great. He was suspended. Well, this is the best defensive football player in the league on one of, if not the best team in the NFL, that's stationed in Los Angeles. I don't think it's a mistake that he's not going to get suspended.
Yeah, and just the fact that he tried to play it off.
Right.
I mean, it just...
Who are you trying to fool, dude?
You're a Super Bowl fucking team. Like, you just gave your team the thing that helps you not repeat.
Right.
You know what I mean? That is such a horrible move for your team, man. Like, it's...
In a Super Bowl rematch practice, too. So you knew that emotions were going to be high going into it. And if you're a vet like he is, you kind of know what you're going into.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that he's not going to get suspended. It's absolutely baffling.
Yeah, I mean, it's wow, is it bad? It's another bad look from the NFL.
Well,
way to go.
Then you go into what are the types of guys that are playing for the NFL? So I'm not sure about you heard about this,
sex
but exactly.
Yeah,
so the punter for the Buffalo Bills, former punter for the Buffalo Bills, Matt Ariza, was cut amid allegations of a gang rape at San Diego State during his senior year.
Okay, I was not aware of that.
Yep. I read the account from the victim. It's kind of scary. It's really scary, actually.
Yeah, we live in hell.
She was 17, visiting a San Diego State party. And yeah, Ariza basically drugged her cup. Him and two teammates dragged her to a bedroom upstairs. And yeah. And so he is no longer on the Buffalo Bills amid these allegations. A lot of the times, to be honest, I think sometimes, especially with rookies, stories come out that are similar to this, and it's skeptical. This one is he's going to go to prison, I think.
Is this a good time? Can I try Boys Will Be Boys? I don't think so.
Not here.
That is so horrifying.
Yeah, it's scary.
And I feel awful for that. Oh my God. And
what's shocking to me is like the university was investigating it, and it was like if I was Buffalo, you could have found out about this if you did your due diligence. So two things happened. Either A, they didn't do their due diligence on a draft pick, which is shame on you, or they did and they didn't care, which is again shame on you.
Very hard to believe that they don't do pretty heavy background.
Right. So they knew. They must have known. And then the head coach to come out and be all shocked when it drops and, oh, I couldn't sleep at night because I heard about it. It's like, you cannot, I don't believe you that that's the first time you'd heard about it. I don't.
Yeah, I will give them the benefit of the doubt that it could possibly be one of those things where, we're hearing some grumblings of this thing, but, like where it's kind of like, let's not look too close.
But to be totally shocked and appalled.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Who are you trying to fool again?
It's truly
people aren't that dumb.
Thank God that I have shitty athletic genes, so my kid is not going to be a top flight athlete, because it just seems like it makes you a piece of shit of a person. I hate to say that, and I know it's totally not.
Well, and it's shocking that like a Russell Wilson is kind of a great guy because he has never gotten in trouble. It's like that should be the standard.
Yeah,
the standard should be not being a bad person.
Is football worse than other sports? I think it's worse than fucking MMA, which blows me away.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I think it is at times, though, is just the amount of athletes itself. Right?
Yeah.
Like on cut day alone, I think there was like 500 guys just cut from teams. I mean, what's 53 times 32?
Don't ask me that.
Well, it's over 1,500, right?
Right.
So you have like almost 2,000 players in your league. That's by far the most.
Yeah.
So just based on this, law of large numbers, you're going to have more occurrences.
It'd be interesting to see a real analysis of that. Because,
I'd like to see the percentage, right?
Yeah, because it feels to me like it is so much more. And how about this? You are a youth football coach. Do you ever see things, or do you have any, I'm not asking for any dirt type stuff. I'm saying, are you aware of that as you coach these kids, as you communicate with them? Like, am I adding to this mentality? You know what I mean? When you hear boys say some shit
definitely.
that's out of pocket.
That's one of the reasons why I coach where I do. I have an absolute ton of respect for our head coach. I played for him in high school. Not only is he, in my mind, one of the better high school football coaches in probably the state of Minnesota, but he's also one of the better guys. And he preaches all the time about being a good person, being prideful but not cocky. You know, you can be proud of all of the work and all of the sacrifice that you've made, and be proud of who you are as an Andover football player. But that also comes with a lot of responsibility in representing that program. Our slogan for the day, I apologize, guys, I had to wear the shirt because I'm going to practice after. But our slogan for the year is above the line. So if you are ever in a controversial situation, you need to be above the line in your decision making. All right, let's see what Nick is saying.
Well, yeah, so I was a little late. Sorry, Nick. I just saw this. But actually, before we do this, I'm going to take this off real quick because I want to kind of press you on one thing with that.
Yeah.
Everything you said, of course, I agree with.
Right.
I heard that stuff from coaches myself, right? Or, things like that.
There are coaches out there that don't say it, though,
Sure.
which is just shocking to me. Like, how are you not coaching the whole person?
For sure. And I am not at all, this is no criticism toward your guy. What I'm saying is culturally, for us in the world, that we do say those things a lot.
Right.
But it's when you hear players saying crass shit and they're laughing, and it's not, like, I'm not this dude. I don't call people out on that shit all the time.
Yeah,
I'm not even saying that. But
so we kind of have an unspoken, like, no swearing rule, too. Like, our coaches aren't supposed to swear unless it's, like, a pregame speech, kick their ass type thing. And yeah, like I call players out on it all the time. Like if I'm walking to a meeting room and they're waiting outside the meeting room because it's locked, and I hear, "Oh, my leg is sore as shit," I'll say, "What?
Yeah.
What'd you say?" "Oh, my leg was sore as heck." That's what I thought you said. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I think it's so much of a on my podcast I had John, and I can't even believe I'm blanking on his name. He played for the Packers. John Martin. No, he was a running back from Cretin-Durham Hall, and he was a
swing and a miss on that one. Sorry.
Stud from day. Like, basically, his high school got
an
magically
NFL
paid
caliber,
for. Yeah. Like, I mean, from day one of his life, he was treated differently, right? Yep. And he owns that really well. That he's like, oh, just the whole world was like streets paved with gold in front of him. And to me, that's the issue, in a sense, right? Is that we do that kind of shit.
Well, and I think we should be careful not to go down too much of a tangent here, but I think the NIL stuff and the transfer portal new rules in college football are loaning into that. Like, now a kid can transfer and play the same year. So if I transfer from USC, I can play quarterback at West Virginia the next year.
We're free agents now.
And who's to stop a West Virginia booster to say, hey, you come play for us, you'll get a $100,000 advertisement deal.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of absurd not to if you let them make some money, or, so yeah.
It's buying into that totally. And it's scary. It's the conversation that they have all the time. It's like, you give a 22-year-old $10 million, of course they're going to spend it, and it's not going to be on good stuff for the most part. It's interesting. Speaking of money, though, Jimmy G actually restructured his deal.
Yep, staying with the 49ers.
Yep. And he's in a backup role. Well, let's talk about Nick's comment. I know he's sitting at home probably in that chair in the Anthony Barr jersey. So also, I told you that it is whoever swings second in these situations that will get the worst of it. Be prepared for everyone to lose their minds that Watson gets off lighter than this punter.
I think I get what he's saying. Also, is that so this punter is going to just eat it now because they're pissed about Watson? Is that kind of what they're saying, or what he's saying? I think.
Yes and no. I mean, he's saying that Watson gets his punishment, and because of the uproar of the punishment maybe being too light, that a second offender is going to face that wrath. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though, too. Watson was like more so sexually harassing There were some sexual assaults, but like it was more sexually harassing other people. Matt Ariza like gang raped a 17-year-old girl. These are not the same case at all either, to be honest. I think they're both sexual predators and should be punished accordingly, but they are not the same conversation.
It sounds like the devil's in the details with this one, huh?
Yeah,
like yeah,
for sure.
And that's what I said about the Ben Roethlisberger stuff. Like so many people kind of apologize for that. If you read the details of it, it's just ghoulish.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway.
So do you think Jimmy G restructuring his deal to be the backup will lead to issues in the locker room with Jimmy G and Trey Lance?
No, I feel bad that this is Jimmy G's mentality. I feel sad for him in this very weird way. I don't know. Like, it's weird to feel sad for a millionaire.
Just, $6.5 million guaranteed. If he plays, there are incentives to bump it up to 16.5. But he probably won't play unless Lance does poorly.
I'd really like to know what's going on behind the scenes there and what is being said, because it's really curious, I guess. You know, I mean, he's been, whatever, he was regarded as a guy who's going to be a top-flight quarterback for, 5 years now?
Yep.
And it's...
You let him do a Super Bowl, but he also threw the ball, I think, 7 times in that NFC Championship to get him there.
Yeah.
Nick and I were having this conversation a few days ago, and he thought that it was going to be a big issue in their locker room, that Jimmy G is sticking around. And I am 50-50 on the subject. As somebody who played quarterback, and this kind of goes to Kirk Cousins too. Quarterbacks typically play better when they have the confidence of the coaching staff. Well, Kirk Cousins didn't have the confidence of Mike Zimmer. He does of KOC. So that's why I'm curious to see how Kirk does this year. If I'm Trey Lance, keeping Jimmy G and not trading him away to many, many suitors around the NFL doesn't exactly give me confidence in my role. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we're going to keep somebody on the roster that could do the job if you can't.
I mean, is that to
You're
put
clearly
the heat
not
on
very
him?
confident in me. Well, and that's the thing, right?
You know what
so
I mean? Is his work ethic maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on who the kid is too, right? It depends on who the athlete is. Some definitely respond to a little bit of heat. Some respond to, you're the guy. Go be the guy. We believe in you. So it's interesting. It'll be a storyline throughout the NFL season if Trey Lance doesn't play basically perfectly. So can he handle that?
Yeah.
Week out.
Yeah, I'm going to scan for some articles here while you're kind of moving on, just because I'm so curious now for the... it says Sherman offers great car comparison for the Lance Garoppolo situation.
Sure.
So let's just put it. He says, "Let me read and see. Why not have 2 engines?" Sherman said. Hey, I got a Ferrari and it's got this friggin' brand new engine. 700 got another engine. That's about 500. I've had it for years. That's for me. That just is so simplistic.
I mean,
right?
but if you want a second engine, why do you not trust in the engine that you have? It would be my question.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
Why do you feel the need to have a second engine?
See, I don't question. Whoops.
Unless the first engine breaks or gets injured.
That's the thing. I don't question the team's motivation to keep him at all.
I'm just saying, like, how does that make Trey Lance feel? And if he feels like they're not buying into him completely, will that affect his play? Is this a self-fulfilling prophecy by the 49ers now? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to keep this guy who can do the job if you can't. And they're basically putting out into the universe that he can't. So we'll see. It's going to be a storyline throughout the entire season, I can tell you that. And I'd be shocked if Jimmy G is still a 49er if he's not starting for them at the trade deadline. Shocked. So last bit of NFL news. Tyron Smith, the all-pro left tackle for the Dallas Cowboys, is going to miss the majority, if not all, of the 2022 season with an avulsion fracture. This sounds painful as hell.
It sounds awful. So I'm sorry, and I missed it because I was trying to read this Garoppolo thing.
Yeah.
Who is this?
This is Tyron Smith, the all-pro left tackle for the Cowboys.
Okay. I got to pull this up because it's...
Avulsion fracture is what it's called. It's when your hamstring behind the knee, like basically where it connects. So for those of you who don't have anatomy or understanding of muscle systems, every single muscle that you have in your body crosses a joint. So your hamstring connects just below your butt and it crosses your knee. And that's basically what you use to pull your ankle back to your butt. Well, he tore his hamstring behind the knee. That sounds so painful.
How the hell do you do that? Yeah.
Well, you're probably 350 pounds when your body wants you to be 270, but you're ballooning up because you're an NFL offensive lineman, and then you're supposed to move like it's extremely difficult to be an offensive or defensive lineman in the NFL, and if you see majority of those guys lose 40 to 50 to 100 pounds once they're done playing. I think it's based on that.
That's crazy.
But that sounds painful as hell, and if you're a Cowboys fan, that's painful as hell because I think they're going to a rookie now at that spot, Tyler Smith.
And he's their left tackle?
Left tackle.
Not good. Huh?
Not good. Especially when we've made the argument many, many times that Ezekiel Elliott is only as good as the offensive line in front of him. And the offensive line in front of him has progressively gotten worse since he's come into the NFL.
Yeah.
So, Nick, if you're still watching, we're going to switch gears here, bud. We're going to talk about UFC.
Oh, here we go. Hold on 1 second. I think he's he ringed in.
Dallas is cooked without a top 10 O-lineman. Zeke is a bottom feeder running back in 2022. There you go, fantasy fans. This is insurance. It is what's best for the team. At the same time, it is what is worst for the development of Trey. Holy crap. Nick and I are agreeing. He must be really sick at home.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense that you wouldn't be here. So what does he think? So, Nick, if you're on the keyboard, I just want to know what he knows about the mental makeup of Garoppolo here. And does this make you... Is he reclining into his career? Like, is he just kind of done? I wonder.
I think he asked for a trade. I'll look it up really quick, but I want to say that he did ask or request for a trade.
I've been Googling back here, and I can't find anything sort of,
Lynch said Garoppolo has not requested his release. If a trade does not immediately materialize after his medical clearance, the 49ers could release Garoppolo. That's from July. So he got re-signed. So I don't think he's asked for a trade, which is shocking to me.
Oh, here's from 49ers website kind of thing, or whatever, football one. It says that this, basically they're seeing it as a really bad sign for Lance.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That they have some, Yeah.
They clearly have doubts. Otherwise, they wouldn't be keeping a second engine in the box like we were making the analogy earlier.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be. Gabe, you have a vehicle. Do you have a second engine for that vehicle at home?
No, I don't. I expect the first one to work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's interesting. It's going to be a story all season long. I'm telling you, if Trey Lance comes out first week and throws 100 yards and has 2 picks, Jimmy G is going to be a huge story that next week.
They just said that Kyle Shanahan said previously that the odds of them keeping Garoppolo were, quote, slim to none.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty, that's...
Well, and that's kind of what I'm saying. So let's say Trey Lance plays well enough. It's week 8. It's the trade deadline. They have no motivation to switch those two. Garoppolo will be traded. And he's going to have a team-friendly deal to be traded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. Nick, I love you, man, and we're going to do this for you. So I know not that much about UFC. If you've watched the show in the past, it's typically the Nick and Gabe show at that time. So we're going to struggle through without Nick. The only fight that I'm even slightly interested in out of this card is this Saturday. I believe it's in Paris, Gabe.
Yes.
Is the Cyril Gane versus Tuivasa fight.
Yes.
Gane is a heavy favorite. Do you see Tuivasa drinking out of a shoe by the end of Saturday night?
Personally, I don't. But I got to say, this is a big test for Gane in that if he does not wipe the floor with him, if he does not outclass him, because he has so many more dimensions to his game.
Right.
His movement, he is a superior athlete.
He's only been beaten once.
Yes.
He's 10-1.
But he looked human, I guess, against Ngannou. And if he loses here, if he gets caught, because, hey, anytime, a puncher's chance.
All that's the thing, right?
With him, right? So anything is absolutely possible. But this is a test for Gane that he's got to win. He's supposed to win.
Right.
And that's just it. Now, there is other fights on the card.
I will say about Tuivasa, too. I think the first time I ever saw him fight, he was ranked 15th or so. Knocked the dude out, drank out of a shoe. Super exciting, fun to watch. And then he does it again. And I think he's done it once more since then. So he is climbing up the ladder. And in order for him to be considered a serious contender in this weight class, he must beat Gane. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I don't think he's that good. But like you said, one swing, one punch, it could be Tuivasa drinking out of a shoe.
You know, we've been spoiled with some really good cards recently, and this card sucks.
Yep.
This card sucks because even Whitaker, who I love, Whitaker is awesome. He's fighting Vettori, who I hate, who is there. It's kind of like this whole card or whatever. The top of this card is guys who are sort of in the muck right now. And they
just kind of names that people know, and they're just kind of putting them together.
And they're all people sort of who are directionless right now. You know, Vittori's sort of like lost. He's not viewed as someone who's going to challenge for the title.
Right.
Whitaker absolutely had that skill set, has that skill set possibly, but hasn't done it.
Past the limelight a little bit, isn't he?
Yep, hasn't done it. So you're kind of like really they're supposed to be gatekeepers for the young hotshots now. And I'm assuming they just didn't have a good matchup for him. And then, Cyril, same kind of thing. I guess this is the interim heavyweight championship is on the line, so we're not supposed to see it that way. But, I mean, I will watch it.
It is interesting that it's not a great card, and it's in Paris. You'd think that they would bring the best product they possibly could to Europe.
I would think that somebody is still going to... I mean, how far... Is this Saturday?
This is this Saturday.
Oh, God, there's not even time to add anyone.
No.
And I look at the preliminary card, and of course, that's just a bunch of, I don't know anyone there.
Yeah. So Nick wanted to talk about 2 rookies, but I don't even know who he wanted to talk about, to be honest. So, Nick, if you want to comment in really quick.
I thought Charles Jourdain was one of them. Let's see. Is like one of the hot fighters or whatever.
Yeah. Jourdain, is that right?
Yeah. So that's probably why they're there, is for this guy, because that's a French name.
Sure.
But yeah. I mean, as far as that goes... Calf kid. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Is this one that you will go out of your way to watch?
No. Well, shit.
I want to know how the Gane Tuivasa fight goes, but I don't think I'm going to spend $60 on that card to watch that one fight.
That's where I stand on this. Would I illegally stream it? Yes.
Yeah.
Would I buy it? No.
Would you watch your friend's Facebook feed of it on his TV? Yes.
Would I change plans that I had, to go do that? Like, no, honey. And that's... Right. Pretending like there's a woman in my life, which there's not. But
no, kids. Right. We're watching this tonight. Mm-hmm. No Land Before Time tonight.
That's right.
All right. Well, we'll give Nick a couple more minutes. I think he's kind of in and out of sleep. So if we don't get a comment.
In and out of consciousness.
Yeah.
I'll let you know if he rings in.
All right. Well, we're on to our last subject of the day. Just like that, guys.
We've done it.
When it's just one of us, it goes a little quicker. One of us is a little bit longer in getting to our points.
Are you saying?
Yeah, I am saying that.
How dare you? Is that pointed at me or who?
No?
I can't tell.
It's pointed at the pigeon in the other seat there.
I see.
So yeah, we're into our last segment of the day already. I wanted to touch on college football. I still appreciate college football for what it is, even though it's becoming ruined.
It is.
The NIL stuff, the transfer portal. I still appreciate the pageantry that goes into it. I do.
I've never seen someone who's not an announcer use the word pageantry.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
That's like a Joe Buck line.
I love the tradition that goes into it. I was a part of 2 collegiate rosters throughout my career. Played freshman year at Gustavus Adolphus, which has been around for 120 years, as a big mural in their field house of all the football players going back to the leather helmets. A lot of history. And then the second school I played for was the College of St. Scholastica, who I think I was on their 4th, my freshman year, I think that was their 4th football team ever. And it was building the tradition. So I've seen kind of both ends of the spectrum. I appreciate that aspect of college football more than most people my age. I can probably say that. But with that, we have a few really cool, interesting games coming up week 1. So 2 historic teams right off the bat. Number 2, Ohio State versus number 5, Notre Dame. Notre Dame travels to Ohio State, I believe. Gabe, what do you think the spread is between the number 2 and number 5 team in the nation?
Say the names of the teams again, though.
So it's Ohio State, number 2, at home against number 5 in the nation, Notre Dame. What do you think the spread is?
I actually think it's a 10-point spread.
I believe the last time I checked, it was 22.5.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I think if you're a betting man, you may want to bet on Notre Dame here, because all they have to do is lose by 3 touchdowns and you get paid.
I'm loving this segment all of a sudden. For a moment, I was actually hoping you'd transition into high school football. I'd rather hear about that than college.
Sure.
And now you got me way into it. I'm very interested in this. So Notre Dame, I'm looking up what the current line is.
Yeah, please do.
Notre Dame.
We were talking about it in the coach's office yesterday. And if you want to touch on high school football, we can even do that really quick. We have time today.
Yeah. You can do that. So I'm trying to find the betting line. Why is Notre Dame such a huge giant?
They have a brand new head
so it looks
coach.
like now it's 17.5.
Now it's 17.
Damn, I would have loved to catch that at 22.
But still,
mm-hmm.
You're telling me that Notre Dame is going to lose? That's if they lose by 2 touchdowns and a field goal, they close the spread. That's still a good betting line.
So listen to that. Well, here, actually, go ahead. I'm going to put something on screen in just a minute.
Yeah.
And because we've got sort of the explanation for this gap.
Well, I think it's one of the main reasons is Notre Dame's new head coach, right?
Ooh, I'm not seeing that. So keep going about that point, and I'll put this
Well,
up.
I'm almost positive it was Brian Kelly, who's now at LSU. And they have an opener in like the Superdome against Florida State, which is going to be interesting. I don't understand leaving Notre Dame. To be honest, Notre Dame is a perennial top 10, top 15 team, and it's Notre Dame.
Boy, I think Notre Dame, that's like old white guy kind of shit. Like, I mean, I have that regard for Notre Dame. I don't know if other people do.
Right.
But.
Well, actually, I just saw a statistic the other day that said, like, Notre Dame deserves its respect because in the last 5 years, they've started in the top 25 and they've ended in the top 25.
Yeah.
That's a good college football program.
It is.
You know, and maybe 10 years ago, they weren't that, but they are again.
So here we go.
So Ohio State's projected starting 22 includes 8 5-star recruits, 12 4-star recruits, and 2 3-stars. Notre Dame's projected starting 22 includes 1 5-star recruit, 14 4-star recruits, and 7 3-stars. So quite a bit of a difference in talent coming out of high school there. Ohio State ranks second nationally with a blue chip ratio of 80%. Notre Dame is 9th with a percentage of 62. That's not much of a spread.
Yeah.
Ohio State has signed 71 blue chip players the last 4 cycles, including transfers. Notre Dame has signed 51 blue chip players.
And that's not so insane.
No, one is just better than the other, right? But everybody knows that Ohio State is better than Notre Dame right now. But again, are they 2 touchdowns and a field goal better? I mean, the name I'm going to bring up is Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
Didn't get recruited pretty much at all out of high school except to Mankato. And now he's a perennial NFL receiver. So what you are in high school does not make the man. A lot of guys mature until they're 25.
I haven't matured at all.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still waiting. I'm 30. So to tell me that based on what these kids were at 18 dictates the outcome of this game years later, I don't buy into that at all. Not for a second.
Yeah, no, it is odd, but at the same time, you got to think for those kids, and I don't know how many are freshmen, but playing, in Ohio State in that building with all those people, that has got to be.
But you're also a Notre Dame athlete, right? Like you've played at the Big House probably. You're playing big schools around the nation every year. That's what Notre Dame football is about, is being in an independent conference by themselves and playing top tier talent all the time. So unless you're a freshman, you're probably going to be pretty used to being in a hostile environment on the road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's true.
So the second storyline I wanted to talk about with college football, Gabe, and I don't know if you've heard about this, the Minnesota Golden Gophers kick off tonight. They played New Mexico State. who is probably the worst team in college football right now.
Okay.
But their head coach is Jerry Kill.
No way. I thought he was killed. I thought he died.
Nope. So because of health issues, he stepped down as the Gophers head coach. And I think that was 4 or 5 years ago. And now he is coming back with his new program. And I want to say New Mexico State hasn't won a game in like 22 games.
And how long has Kill been with them?
I think this is his first year.
Okay.
Well, then there was a bunch of controversy about Jerry Kill like being mad at the University of Minnesota and the athletic department and everything, and that he wouldn't shake PJ Fleck's hand.
Oh, he's taking out on Fleck, huh?
But now, that's the big storyline for the game, is the handshake between Jerry Kill and PJ Fleck pregame.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right?
Where do you stand on that? I mean, I don't know about Kill's treatment enough. I know he has health problems. I mean, honestly, it seemed like he was going to die on our sideline.
It did. I felt like we made the best move for him and the program at that time. I really liked him as a coach prior to the health issues. Where a lot of his resentment actually comes from is how Tracy Claeys was treated, his interim after him, and how he was removed as the head coach after having, I think he was the head coach for one full season and had a decent year, like 8-4 Outback Bowl, and was removed. And PJ Fleck came in.
Is the PJ Fleck thing? Do we just say do we have an elite coach in PJ Fleck?
I think he is an elite recruiter. I don't love his X's and O's, and I think he plays to the level of the competition a lot. So I'm not worried about New Mexico State at all, but I have tickets to go. I think it's their week 3 game against Colorado. That's going to be a good game because Minnesota's going to play down to the level of Colorado, in my opinion.
Right. Hey, here's a little service for the people. What if they wanted to watch the game? Because that's the biggest question in all this shit now. How do you even see games? How do you watch
if you want to watch the Gophers tonight, you can either pay $24 for a ticket, which might be the easiest, to be completely honest with you, or on your cable television if you have the Big Ten Network, or online streaming. You just have to download another streaming service. This one's called Fubo TV. Fubo. Try for free. Regional. Yeah. Restrictions may apply.
Yeah. I think that's interesting that you can watch it somewhere. It says the CBS Sports app, but I don't know what the hell.
No, you can follow it along.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So they'll say Gophers scored from the 12.
That's how I used to watch baseball.
Right.
Whatever, yeah.
And that is tonight at 8 Central Standard Time.
Score prediction.
38-14. Gophers. I mean, you have Tanner Morgan, who's 37 years old and has been at the university since its inception as your quarterback. You better know the offense and run it well.
Do we have any players who are all excited about this year for the Gophers?
Mohamed Ibrahim comes back, as he was probably the best running back in the Big Ten last year and got hurt. He was a big part of our offense prior to being hurt. He's back. That's going to be huge. And then our center, actually, who I think off the top of my name is like John Martin Murphy or something along those lines, is one of the best centers in college football. So him with
I can't wait to
Ibrahim,
watch that center play.
We have like a ton of offensive linemen that are like coming back for their 6th year because they can with the COVID season.
Okay.
Our offensive line up front should be decent. And then with Ibrahim, who I think should be back to form, I think our RPO game and running game should look pretty good. New Mexico State is not a test at all. Like I said, I think they've lost their last 22 games or something insane like that. So we should win that one. The storyline, like I said, is going to be the Jerry Kill, PJ Fleck handshake, which will happen, game's at 8, right? So it'll happen around 7:45 tonight.
So this is an article I found that is a Gophers sourced thing, right?
Yeah.
And it says 5 bold predictions for the Gophers this year. Let's see where you stand on these.
All right, let's see.
Number 1, Minnesota finally wins the damn Big Ten West in 2022.
Within the realm of possibility, for sure. Definitely. I mean, your biggest hurdle is Wisconsin, and PJ Fleck has had some success against Wisconsin, which other coaches, including Jerry Kill, cannot say. What's number 2?
Mo Ibrahim earns actual Heisman Trophy votes.
Again, like I said, I think he was the best running back in the Big Ten last year. The Big Ten is known for black and blue football. You know, they play double tight, run the ball a ton more than other divisions. So if you're the best running back in that conference, that means a lot. So if he stays healthy, again, definitely within the realm of possibility.
Brevin Spann-Ford catches 40 passes.
Probably not. I don't know if we're going to throw the ball 40 times this year. Like, that's what it's going to be like. Tanner Morgan, I mean, is the RPO slant specialist. So possibly, but probably not.
And then the last one is Terrell Smith makes an all Big Ten team.
Maybe. I mean, maybe second all Big Ten, right? I mean, I think he's going to be, I'll look him up.
I guess there's one more too. So yeah, this is
what's the last one?
So actually it's Tyler Nubin is first team all Big Ten.
That one I buy into a little bit more. Terrell Smith, for those who don't know, he's entering his 5th year. He's a DB. He's pretty freaking good. The trouble with being a defensive back and getting a claim is if you're good enough, you don't get the action.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're not going to throw at you. So statistically, what are you doing? You're doing nothing. You're just shutting down their receiver, which doesn't show. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He has the capability of being pretty good and being another DB drafted in the NFL, a la Antoine Winfield Jr. But I don't know how noticeable he'll be on a Saturday, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And Tyler Nubin, again, it's our defensive backs. Our Gopher roster this year is old because of the COVID year, and a lot of guys have elected to come back for that 5th or 6th year and kind of buy into what PJ Fleck is doing. So again, he's an elite recruiter. He's an elite motivator. Just don't love his X's and O's at times.
Aren't a lot of teams older though this year?
Yeah, so that's going to be the trend around college football. But again, if you're in Alabama and you're a true 3rd-year junior and played well last year, you're going to get drafted. So do you want to be drafted now, or do you want to come back? The Gophers don't really have that issue because a lot of their guys aren't top tier talent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you're getting a guy who is maybe, hey man, you could get drafted in the 6th round. Well, now I'm just going to come back to school at 23 and play another year and maybe be drafted in the 3rd round. You know, it's just another year older, another year more mature, and in the same offense helps a lot. I think we're impacted by it more than the top schools, which we're trying to be, which helps us.
Are we on the track to be a top school?
I mean,
top 25
if we win the Big Ten West, yeah. We were in the top 25 last year, I believe. So if you win the Big Ten West, that gets you a berth in the Big Ten championship game. More than likely, Ohio State's going to win that sucker coming out of the East. More than likely, they're going to be in the top 4 in the national playoff. If that happens, the loser of that game typically plays in the Rose Bowl. So do we win the Big Ten West? Definitely possible. Do we beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship? Probably not. So Rose Bowl, that's a pretty successful season for the Minnesota Gophers.
And who's our main competition in the Big Ten West?
Wisconsin.
Okay.
Who PJ Fleck has beaten, which is encouraging.
You say he's a great motivator, but he plays down to the level of teams.
I think it's his X's and O's that plays down to the level of teams, though. Like, he could just torch teams and put them away, and he's like, 2nd and 1, we could take a shot here. We could score. Let's run it up the middle. 1st down.
Right.
Like, that's what it is. I mean, I don't think it's a mistake that all these guys want to come back for their 6th year and play for him.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, he sounds like a motivator. I mean, everything I've heard, I don't know it that well, but he is
what I will give him credit
guy,
for is it's super hard to be a rah-rah guy all the time.
That's what I don't get.
He is.
It's always artificial to me. It's bullshit to me.
But to me, he's one of the first guys that's genuinely who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would hate to have breakfast with him at 7:30 in the morning because he's going to be, how's it going? How's your day going? How's your mother?
Yeah.
Huh? I was like, dude,
are we gonna have
just
a great
shut
day, guys?
the hell up until 1.
I think today's the day you're going to take the step forward. Do you agree with me or not?
Win the day.
Mm-hmm.
Row the boat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's genuinely who he is, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But that's all I have to say about that, Gabe.
Okay.
The next matchup I want to talk about goes into the NIL thing that we were talking about. It's a storied rivalry. Let me remind myself really quick what it's called. I feel bad for not knowing this. Pitt and West Virginia are going to play each other for the first time in, I think, 4 or 5 years since conference realignment.
They call it the backyard brawl.
The backyard brawl. Yeah, there's a ton of animosity here. Like, fans will flick off the other team. They'll yell slurs at, like, it's bad. There's definitely some hate here, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. People think that this rivalry is unlike any other because of the animosity between these two teams.
Where does it come from?
They've just played each other for 100 years.
Just a regional, yeah.
They're regional. They've played each other for 100 years. I think this is the 106th matchup between the two teams.
Why am I just hearing about it now? You know what I mean? Like, did something happen that it pushed it over the edge?
So they used to be in the same conference, so it happened every year. It might not have been as big. Plus, both teams are probably more successful now than they ever have been. I mean, Pittsburgh just graduated I think third in Heisman voting quarterback in Kenny Pickett. You know, so these teams are a little bit better. It's just a little bit more notoriety, a little bit more notable that these two teams are coming back to play each other after 5 years with the animosity of the rivalry, with the reignition of the rivalry, and both teams are a little bit better sitting in their standing as well. What I think is very interesting is the two quarterbacks for these teams are direct products of the NIL and the transfer portal. So the starting quarterback for the Pitt Panthers this year is Gane Tuivasa, who comes from USC, transfers in. The quarterback for the West Virginia Mountaineers this year is JT Daniels, who was a national championship caliber quarterback for Georgia, was injured late in the year, was replaced. The backup wins a national championship, and JT Daniels leaves. So you're seeing two quarterbacks leading these two teams with this historic rivalry, making their first starts for these teams as a result of the NIL and transfer portal. It's going to be an interesting one. I'm very curious to see how it goes down. I'm very curious to see how both of these quarterbacks play.
Huh. I'm kind of reading about this. It is kind of fascinating. It's almost like, tell me if I'm right or wrong here, but it almost seems like it's the type of, the schools are at the level where it's like, this is really our whole fucking season.
Yes.
Yeah. We got to win this so that we can, yeah.
And it means a lot more, too, because one of these teams might end with 2 losses, and one of them might be to the other team. You know, when they were going 2-8 and they'd play each other, it's like, yeah, it's cool. It's the rivalry. They hate each other, but who the hell cares?
Yeah.
Well, now they both have Heisman-level quarterbacks, and they're both going to be good, and they're opening the season with this reignition of this rivalry. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. And that that's not tonight, too, is it?
Let's see. It says 7 p.m. Eastern time. Let's see. Is that today? Thought it was. Let's see. I guess I'm not seeing that on this article.
Let me check. Let me see if I can find it really quick. It's today, 6 o'clock tonight.
Okay.
So tonight you'll have that game. At about halftime, you can peek over at the Gophers pregame and see the handshake heard around the world. It'll be a good one. College football kicks off, man. I'm telling you, I love this stuff. There's a ton of storylines that go into it if you pay attention and watch.
It's just so weird that you have all these kids playing, and the story is always about the coaches. I just think
it is interesting, so right?
Yeah,
well, and the coaches are making $10 million or something. You know, there's just so much money in it now.
Yeah. That
it's starting to get ruined. But after 11 years, the backyard brawl is back. I thought it was like 5. But yeah, they haven't played each other since 2011. So.
Huh.
And the last college football game I just want to touch on going into week 1 here. Number 11, Oregon versus number 3, Georgia. And I've never felt worse for a top 15 team ever. Like, to be number 11, Oregon, and your first game is against Georgia. I get that they had a lot of guys on their defense go to the NFL. I still wouldn't want to play them. Not week 1. You don't want to test out your offense and see what you guys are looking at for the year against one of, if not the best team in college football. Yeah, so there's Gane Tuivasa, who's coming in he was a USC Trojan last year.
Right, and he comes out of pep rally.
And says, F West Virginia.
I like how you censored that after we've been swearing the whole show. But yes.
Well, they censored it. I was just trying to be accurate, right?
No, absolutely. Says, I actually wanted to ask you just one quick college football thing.
Yeah.
I For some reason, I don't know what the hell this is, but Deion Sanders keeps coming up in my various feeds, whether it's my Facebook watch or YouTube.
Yep.
And I just saw something that, I don't know, it's like he's really styling himself as this leader of boys, right? And
yep.
kind of, but now I just heard he took a pay cut, half his salary or something like that. And that was kind of, at first I was a little bit dismissive. I like Deion. I'm not saying he's insincere necessarily, but I don't know. I just wasn't necessarily 100% buying it. What's your take on him and what he's doing there?
Well, it can't be denied that he's putting HBCUs on the map, right?
Yeah.
Just the amount of talent that he's been drawing to Jackson State, being Deion, helps a ton.
Yeah.
And let's just think about this for a second. If every African-American player that's on a true Division I team decided to go HBCU, what's the product that you're getting in a BCS championship game? Probably not as good.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the slippery slope that, like, some people are, like, worried about. But it's like, at the same time, the biggest story was the number one recruit coming out of high school, I think last year, was a guy by the name of Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter had verbally committed, I think, to Alabama, and basically came back on that offer and committed to Jackson State and is going to go play for Deion.
Huh.
So there's a story there. Do top 10 prospects continually choose HBCUs over Alabama, over
what are
USC?
HBCUs?
Historically black colleges and universities.
Okay.
So Jackson State, where Deion coaches, like their schedule, Gabe, Florida A&M, Tennessee State, Grambling State, Alabama State, Bethune-Cookman, Campbell, Texas Southern University, Alcorn State, and Alabama A&M.
Alcorn State, Steve McNair.
Yep.
Yeah. Huh. Okay.
So that's what Deion is doing. He's a notable name, drawing big recruits to HBCUs over perennial Division I powerhouses.
I just saw this came up on ESPN. One thing I've heard Deion say so I guess there's some water crisis in there, so they had to move the team off campus, which is obviously not good. But I was going to say, I heard him say something that I really liked where they were talking about, it was, whether it was TMZ, whoever, but someone asked Deion if he's ready to play, whether it was LSU, it was some big program. And he just really quickly, he was like,
I think it was Alabama.
We're not ready for that.
Would you
now.
play Alabama?
Yeah. Basically, like, we're not ready. Just really on, I do like things I'm hearing him say, for sure.
Right.
So I'm not trying to sound
And I'll say this. I would have no issue whatsoever sending my future son to play for Deion.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
You know what I mean? I think that goes back to the conversation that we were having earlier. Do you think he's a coach that coaches the whole person? I strongly believe that. I don't think he's just coaching football players. I think he's wanting good people to leave his program.
Who's a coach who doesn't?
I mean,
or who's known, or maybe has that attached to them.
I mean, you could make an argument that Nick Saban.
That's exactly what I was
right. I think you could make an argument that he definitely cares more about the wins and losses than he does his players being good people off the field.
Does he care about, do Alabama players, are they good NFL players?
Typically, yes, but there's also, it's the law of large numbers. There's so many of them that eventually some of them are going to get in trouble. So is that because of Nick Saban?
Yeah.
Here's a story off of this that I heard. So Nick Saban and Bill Belichick are very, very close, if you didn't know that.
I didn't know that, actually.
So here's a story about, I think I heard this like a week before the draft. There's one NFL coach that calls Nick Saban prior to the draft to ask about the character of the guys, and that's Bill Belichick. So the other 31 NFL teams, and this was straight from Saban's mouth, the other 31 NFL teams are about to draft an Alabama product, and they're not even calling Nick Saban to say, hey, is this a good guy? Is his work ethic good? Is he going to do the right thing?
What does that mean to you?
That at the NFL level, it's clear. We were talking about it earlier. They don't care.
That they just don't care. Oh,
they do not care.
I thought you were sort of driving at that maybe they don't trust him or his opinion.
I mean, how could you not?
Because he's a he works in his own self-interest all the time.
Sure.
Or, that's kind of what I was wondering.
I mean,
if that's what you think.
I mean, I guess I never thought of it that way before.
Right, that it's like he's not reliable in a sense, that he's always going to say...
Why would you call him?
Yeah. Whether it's always good, always, whatever.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh. Well, that was pretty much all I had for today, Gabe. What'd you think?
Man, I thought it was great.
Yeah?
Yeah, man, I had fun. Did you?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had fun. Only 3 nervous breakdowns last night. Getting here early, prepping for the show, and I thought we delivered a good product. So, Nick, I hope you're happy with what we did today, dude. Honestly, that's my main point of emphasis today. So we wanted to make you proud. Hope we made you proud with the studio setup, and we hope that we made you fans proud at home as well. So, as always, guys, if you are a sports fan with Sports Fan Friends, make sure to share on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube. And you can check us out at MCN6 Cable News, Saturdays at 10 o'clock, or you can access MCN6 through your Roku remote as well. And as always, thank you from Glass Half Sports. Stay safe and have fun.
Goodbye, everyone. Get well soon, Nick. We'll see you on the other side, if not. There you go. He's doing it at home in his sick bed.